welcome be to Wisecat, Avasti, ahoy, yo ho ho in a bottle of rum. Okay, today be Talk Like a Pirate Day, International Talk Like a Pirate Day, so today be a fitting day to talk about r.php, the router. And that's what I'm going to do. So, sorry, long time no see, but I am just here to tell you a little bit about r.php, the Moodle router that is coming soon. What it is, why it's important, and maybe just fanboy out a little bit and say why I kind of like this idea. I think it's going to be great. So let's get into it, shall we? I'll shrink myself down and bring up my web browser. Pew! There we go. Ooh, wait a minute. Where's that? Okay, small zone does not... Okay, do not need that yet. Okay. So, what is the router thing? Well, in recent times, Moodle has been changing pretty greatly, actually. In particular, if you go to the Moodle repository, you'll see that these files do not look very Moodle-y. And you'll notice that in 5.1, which is the main branch at the moment, if you look at the main branch, that's 5.1, there's this new directory called public. And inside the public directory, that's where you'll find folders like the backup badges, blocks, and mods and stuff like that that look more Moodle-y, because this is where the majority of that code currently resides. But it's moving around a little bit. And also there's this new one called r.php. And that's the subject of today's video. So with everything moving around like this, what's actually going to happen is we've got this router, which is going to come. And basically the traffic's going to come in through the router, and the router is going to be the traffic cop pirate directing the traffic where to go. And that's what's going to happen. That's what a router does. That's what this does. So you can see it's a simple, it requires your PHP and stuff like that, and it's going to be doing its thing. Also in here, one thing that some devs, some admins might find is a bit weird is that we have a config.php here. And this is related to this restructure about moving things around a bit. And so this basically is just saying, okay, we're going to put the config.php one level up. So it's not going to be in the web visible directory, which is great for security and things like that. Misconfigured servers where the PHP is not kicking in, the config.php can be served as plain text. I've seen that happen before. It's not good because that's got the database passwords and stuff like that in it. Yeah, you don't want that to be getting public. So this is actually a good move. So, I'm not going to fanboy out too much about that, but I do love the way this is moving with the router. I think it lots of benefits I can see in this in the future. So what does the router itself do? Well, in order to do that, to demonstrate that, I've created my typical standard Moodle here, and it's a fresh install. This is currently running on Apache, I believe. I will go to the environment page and just... no, the environment page isn't going to tell me that. Oh, and Composer's coming. Another video. So not going to that. Let's go to PHP info, because PHP info will tell me what server I am running. Sorry. Oh, where did I put... There it is. PHP info. I am running PHP 8.4. Yay. Debian 13. Woohoo. Recently came out. And down here, if I look at server software, yeah, Apache 2.4 on Debian. So that's currently what I'm running. I'll switch it across to Nginx later. But this one currently is running on Apache. I'll show you how they're configured on both. Anyway, what this does is in the, if we go to the dashboard to test this, what you're going to want is you're going to want a course. And, well, my course is then. Okay, and I'll create a course. Here we go. And this is a course. Test course. Oh, wait a minute. Pirate course. Course. Maybe pirates on course. That'd be a good name for a piratey course. Pirates on course. Okay. All right. Enough of that. All right. I'm just going to create a course anyway. I've created a course now. Great. So now that I've created a course, I've got something I can actually test with by looking at my URL. So I've prepared this small zone thing here so that I can look up here. And you can see here in the course URL that it's /course/view.php and the ID equals 2. Now this 2 refers to, this is the ID of the course. And so what's going to happen in the future though is that this is going to become something like a course, all right, course/2/ and currently one of the few URLs that actually does work with the router is manage. And so that'll give you a sort of a management page for the pirates of course on course. And that is what we see if I zoom out of there. Hello. Now you can see that I've gone to this one here. There's the URL at the top. It is the same page still, but you can see in here I'm in this management page. Now this is what the router does, is it basically takes this this path information and it says, hey, this is where we want to be. And so that looks a little prettier than the one with the question mark ID equals with the get variables and stuff like that. This looks a little prettier, and also it's handling of things like 404, 403 errors is going to be a little bit more, well, elegant, I think. So anyway, we've got that happening. That's what it does. It basically makes a new way of putting these URLs together that's going to look prettier, and also a little bit of additional functionality. And when combined with the restructure of the directory, basically you're going to end up with a more secure environment that Moodle's going to be operating in. Okay, so that's what it does. How did I configure this to actually make it happen, and how are you going to do it? Because guess what? Come 5.1, you're going to need to do this. And in 5.1 also the public directory thing's going to be a thing. So I'll mention that one a little bit more later, but the web root and everything is going to be changing. So big changes coming for 5.1. So if you're looking forward to upgrading to that in another couple of months, keep watching the channel, because I'm going to be making another video on that almost for certain, because it's going to be needed. All right, so let's have a quick look at what I've done here. So if I bring up my terminal here, and I'm already logged into this Vagrant, so let me see. So I'm going to look at the Apache config for this particular site. Sudo nano /etc/Apache 2/sites enabled and vagrant widescope.net. That's the configuration file. And basically it's as simple as this. You just add this line here called fallback resource r.php, and with the leading slash so that it picks it up from the root directory. If your Moodle is not in root, you definitely have to specify the path to it. But essentially, in mine, it's just /r.php, so that's where it's going to go to. And as a fallback resource, that just means, it can still try to run index.php and stuff like that at the moment, but if that doesn't work, fall back to r.php, and that's what it does in Apache. And that's pretty much all you have to do to configure it in Apache. You can actually see this on the Moodle docs about configuring it in Apache. And so here's the installation docs for installing in Apache, and it's already been documented here in, say, the directory. You create fallback resource r.php and stuff like that. So it's actually documented fairly well for Apache. The documentation isn't quite as good for Nginx, but we'll have a look at that in just a moment. There's also this other page called routing, which goes to this page here, configuring the router. And that explains a lot more about what the router is going to do, the SEO stuff, yeah, great. But there are other aspects of it, configuring Apache 2, because there are a few different ways. You can add this fallback resource to, say, htaccess files or something like that. So if you don't have root access, you might be able to also just edit the htaccess file in the main Moodle directory, and that should work just as well. And there are a couple other ways. But basically, what you really want to do is just specify that the fallback resource goes to r.php. Right. So, switching over to, I'm going to switch over to Nginx now. So, exit that. And I'm going to sudo, I already have installed both in this particular one. Systemctl stop Apache 2. And now that Apache 2 is stopped, this should be totally broken, not working. Yep, it is. Great. Having trouble finding that site. Doesn't really surprise me. And now I'm going to start Nginx. And now that Nginx is started, this has just switched over web browsers. And you can see that the Course to Manage page, which is our routed page, is actually rerouting. It's routing it. It's doing its thing. So we've got this routed page happening right here. If in order to configure it in Nginx, the Nginx documentation isn't quite as awesome because it does return. The idea of setting fallback resources in Nginx usually revolves around this whole try files thing. So try files, URI, URI slash. So try the URI, whatever you've got. Then try it as if it's a directory, because it might be a directory. And if it's not a directory or that, then fall back to r.php. Now, previously, depending on your configuration, you might have had actually 404 after that. Now, in the future, you're not likely to need 404 because r.php will handle 404s. If there's nothing to be routed to, then r.php should handle it. And it largely does at the moment, with one or two exceptions, but I'm sure those will be fixed soon. Okay, in the configuring the router page, it also does actually describe how to do this in Nginx, and it describes it here. Try files, try the URI, and then try r.php. And it's even saying don't even bother with the directory sort of a thing. But I think you might want to add that in just anyway. There's also the thing that I find a little bit weird about the Nginx docs is that it's got this try files inside of the fast CGI configuration here. It'll say, this try files here, and I'll say look for the PHP file. If not found, then jump to @routed or @rooted. Yay! But there's no rooted in this try files statement. It just says fast CGI script name and try it as a directory with the slash on the end. But there's no @rooted, and @rooted should be specified later in the file as a location. Location @rooted. This is what you do. This is how you handle stuff that's been passed to @rooted. So this seems incomplete. In particular, the comment doesn't really match what the code is doing here. So watch this space a little bit later, because this will probably change, and I might actually change it myself or propose some changes. And I think that this is not quite complete yet. So if you're going to 5.1, proceed with caution. Okay, that said, it's the configuration that I actually did to get it to work in here. It is sudo nano /etc/nginx /standard Moodle configuration like this, and you can see here's my try files here, and just changed my try files. Here used to be URI maybe 404 at the end, and I've just changed it to add this r.php to the end. Now that'll cycle through. It'll try to grab the URI. If the URI ends up in something.php, it'll then be passed to this block, and this block will handle it, passing it to the socket for PHP. If not, then it'll try it as a directory, and if it is a directory, then with index.php, it will then find this PHP and run it. And if not, it will pass whatever it's got to r.php and go through and run it here. So that's how this basically works. And in the future, I doubt these 404 or 403 pages are even needed anymore, and they probably won't be in the future. And hopefully in the future as well, this sort of, which is a bit of a kludge, is a way of preventing access to, say, /vendor, /node modules, the composer JSON files and things like that. All of that's likely to be one directory higher in your directory structure, so it won't be web visible. So this whole block that denies and returns a 404 shouldn't be necessary in the future as well. And that will be a welcome change from my perspective, because yeah, I've seen these not configured at all on a lot of Moodles out there. And if your Moodle, check your security checks, because if your Moodle isn't doing this right, you are definitely exposing yourself a bit. See other videos, I've actually talked about that before. Anyway, that's the web server side of how to configure this. There is one other thing that needs to be done to have this running, and that is to add a single line to your config.php that tells the Moodle that the router is configured and ready to go. And that is, let's see, /srv Moodle www, and config.php is where I put mine. There it is. And yes, my password is something stupid. Yeah, it's a vagrant, so yeah. Anyway, where is it? Here it is. Router configured, or router configured, true. Now, I don't know. Something's happening to my accent, but the more and more I say it, the more and more I've started saying router instead of router. If you're Australian, you might be a little saddened to hear that. But yeah, I'll try and get it back. Router configured. Okay, router configured is true. Then that is that's how you get it to work. If you don't have this, it'll break. And with my current configuration, I would expect it to give a 500 error. It'll probably just completely bug out. Let's give it a spin, see what happens. So this is our routed course to manage URL. I'm just going to give this a refresh, see what happens. 404. Okay, that's even better, because that's really what should happen. If you've got, you've got, basically this is saying, I couldn't find what you're looking for. Moodle is handling the 404 error. That is beautiful. That's exactly what you want to happen. I thought it was going to give me a 500, but it didn't. That is great. If I restore my router configured thing, and then refresh, and now it's routing properly. Okay, so that's it. In sum, there is a router coming. It's a front controller router, which is coming to Moodle. It came actually in as part of 4.5. It is continuing on into 5.0, and in 5.1 it's going to be compulsory. So this is definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to when upgrading to 5.1 and thereafter. The other thing is that this also is connected to the restructure of the Moodle, the whole, how the folders and everything are laid out. So you're going to want to just pay attention to that in upcoming releases as well, because there are a few things we're going to have to change how we do stuff. It's fairly trivial to change the configuration for Nginx and Apache, and it will end up making your Moodles far more secure. From my perspective, this has got nothing but pluses for it. So tiny little change in configuration is going to lead to some pretty serious gains in terms of usability and security. So I'm all for this. This is looking like it's going to be fantastic, so bring it on. Okay, and that's it for today's video. So, hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get your r.php on as soon as you possibly can. Ahoy and yo ho ho, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ta.